I'm Corbett Wall with DVAuction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, August the 9th, brought to you in part by Taleve by Norbrook. Taleve delivers the same fast and long-acting broad-spectrum activity you expect from a tulathromycin injection, and it comes in 4 convenient-sized, exclusively plastic bottles where you don't have to worry about breaking them and losing product. For more information, go to norbrook.com. Also, Unionville Livestock Market and Creston Livestock Markets up there in southern Iowa and north central Missouri. They've been kind of slow in that part of the country, really, but just been listening to the corn grow and letting the cattle graze. But they are going to have 2 big specials, one at each barn here coming up middle of the month here. The first one will be at Unionville Livestock Market on August the 20th. Included in that special will be 5 loads of those Rockin' R or Smokin' R cattle from Lucerne, Missouri, and they usually weigh from 875 to 900 pounds. They're building around that consignment right now. On the 21st of August, Creston will be having their Barbecue Customer Appreciation Day special, and they're expecting 2,500 to 3,000 feeder cattle for that special. Featured consignments already are Justin Peterson. He's going to have about 1,000 head of 700 to 800 pound cattle there. Walt Glenn will have about 400 head weighing from 8 1/4 to 9 1/4. So if you're interested in consigning something or more information about the consignments they're going to have, get a hold of my friends Kurt or Heather Sporleader there. They're involved in both sales. Cody Fry up there at Creston, kind of running the day-to-day operations, and then Joel Sporleader, the son of Kurt and Heather, is back from college, and he's working both barns, working the country, and just kind of taking care of a lot of things there. But check them out, guys. The truth about mandatory EID, and we've talked about that a few times, how Secretary of Ag Vilsack, he just struck a pin and decided that we are going to have mandatory electronic ID tags in all of the breeding stock, 18 months or older, sexually intact. Basically all of our breeding stock, rodeo and exhibition cattle and bison. It includes dairy cattle, but they've already been doing that for quite a while on them. But you know, I just figured, you know, shoot, that'd be no big deal for everybody. Wait a minute. Why are we doing this? Well, they're doing it under the umbrella of disease traceability, which, you know, that makes it a little bit hard for people to complain about or resist. Oh, it's about disease traceability. Okay, we have to do that. Bullshit. The disease traceability that we've been using has been working fine for many years. We've still got that. This is about control. Absolutely all about control. When you order your tags, you got to have a premise ID so they know exactly where you're at, how many you're going to order there, and then we've seen here of late. I told you guys that whenever we allowed them to do it on breeding stock or 18 months or old sexually intact cattle, that's just going to be the first step in the door, and then pretty soon they're going to push it on all classes of cattle. Well, we've seen about the big debate that happened there a year and a half or so ago down there at Florida at the NCBA convention, and everybody was really upset about it. And so now we're seeing that indeed was true, because it was kind of highlighted by Tri-State Livestock Market News publication, one of the few publications that's really good out there. And Carrie Stadheim, she does a good job with that paper, and she put out an article in the most recent issue of that paper, and she uncovered something that a lot of us weren't seeing. She saw where USDA APHIS, or Animal Plant Inspection Service there, they've written the rules, updated rules on this my mandatory EID, and it calls that their goal is for birth to slaughter. Okay, that doesn't really line up with what we've been talking about. All your sexually intact males and females being over 18 months old, basically your breeding stock. No, they want it birth to slaughter on everything. Why would they need birth to slaughter EID tags on everything? Like I said, they totally want control. Now they're wanting that because of carbon credits, carbon taxes, the global warming, just basically food control of everything. So, I guess it would be pretty easy for them to go out there with a drone, or basically anybody to go out there with a drone, if they've got a wand on that drone, and they could go out there and be droning cattle when nobody was around, nobody knew what was going on. That just basically they're getting too much control. They don't need to know everything. Keep them on a need-to-know basis. They don't need to know everything. Anything, oh, you're just a conspiracy theorist. That kind of stuff's not going to work. Well, we've seen them impose similar rules, mandatory EID, over in Europe. In Denmark, they did it, and then soon after, Denmark imposed $100 per head tax on every head of cattle. Oh, that takes the fun out of things in a big hurry. Well, once they had the mandatory EID, then they knew where they were at and how many there were of them. In Ireland, they let them impose a mandatory EID on those, and just over a year later, went in and said that they needed to destroy or slaughter 41,000 head of their cattle in Ireland due to global warming. Now, that's the kind of things that comes along, and the more woke we get all the time, and if we happen to get this Harris Walsh Democrat leftist liberal organization or administration coming in, that kind of stuff is coming, because she's already said she wants to put restrictions on red meat intake. Well, she's going to want to know where the cows are at, because she thinks they're ruining the globe too, with climate change. We can't allow this to happen, guys. So we've got to get behind Harriet Hageman's bill there. She's the lone representative in Wyoming, and she has come out and offered a resolution to block this, to totally block it. Now, she's got the balls to stand up and try to do something about this. We've got to get behind her. RCAF is behind her. Recently, they've come out, and U.S. Cattlemen's Association is behind this resolution to get this blocked. Of course, NCBA is totally the other way. They're all for it. But we've got to get this blocked, guys, and it's got to come from you grassroots people, you small organizations. And I don't care if your local county or area of your state or whatever, your Cattlemen's Association is hooked up with NCBA. You guys can do what you want to do, and it needs to be done. This needs to be stopped. It is way too much overreach here, and we don't need to be doing it. Plus the cost. Now USDA thinks that it would cost about $26 million to do just what they've already said that we have to do, 18 months and older, and rodeo and exhibition cattle and bison. They're saying 26 million. They've only appropriated 15 million, and most of that 26 million is going to be sopped up with administration fees. And Harriet Hageman says she estimates that it's going to cost 250 million. Where's that cost going to be covered from? And of course, that includes, the shrink, the costs of putting those tags in and everything. We've got to stop this. That is the truth about this EID. They are wanting birth to slaughter. This is just the first step. We let them do this. We don't put up a fight. And then they're just going to, be like a load of hay fell on you. All of a sudden, it's going to be on all classes that we can't do all classes. And of course, they're wanting to put all the burden on the auction markets again, just like they do on gathering the checkoff money and everything else. They've done enough. It's hard enough to find help around there just to run an auction without having to run all of them through the chute and put an EID tag in. It's not doable. Can't do it. But we can't seem to get that through the people's heads that are making the laws up there. Let's just get in there, get behind Harriet Hageman's resolution and get this stopped right now. They push this kind of stuff when the market's really good and they think, oh, you know, those cattle people are getting rich, you know, these cattle are bringing over $2,000 a head and they're all getting rich, you know. Well, you know, things have changed this last week as we've seen. Inputs are high and everything else. We've got to get together, make a big noise and get behind this resolution of Harriet Hageman's. You know, get online, find out what you need to do to lend your support to that, and we've got to get this deal stopped. Let's talk about your board. Of course, the board's been kind of a wreck. Of course, it started out Monday seeing losses that we rarely ever see, you know, $5, $6, $7 down, especially on your feeder cattle. We've seen it kind of jostle back and forth here the rest of the week, but a little bit weaker on Thursday, especially on your back months, guys. And if you guys were thinking about, you know, maybe later in the week the LRP figures would be better, I tell you what, we've lost over $2 on your back months on feeder cattle. Well, there goes that, and you just keep losing that ground all the time. But your August live cattle futures down 22 cents at 182.05. October down $1.25 at 178.02. Your back months were down $1.12 to down $1.42. That's on live cattle. Feeder cattle for August down $0.25 at 242.37. The reason it didn't go down anymore, it's going to have to meet up with your CME cash feeder cattle index, which is more than $10 premium to that. So they don't want to get too far from it because they'll have to run it back up there right at the end of the trading month here in August to meet up with that because it's cash settled. But your other months were all down a bunch more. September was down $1.47, 237.42. Then, like I said earlier, all your back months down from 212 to 245. Your grains were down, and I tell you what, corn has dipped under $4 a bushel again. That is cheap grain, guys. And I did see where Cargill is doing some rearranging because the things ain't going too good for them. They're mostly on the grains. Of course, they're into every aspect of agriculture, but they're making some change ups because they're not getting the returns that board wants. So they're making changes there. In cheap grain, corn for December down 3 3/4 cents a bushel at 3.97. November beans down 10.5 cents a bushel at 10.08 1/4. Hard red winter wheat for September down 4 cents at 5.51 1/2. Fat cattle trade, we saw a little bit more trade. Haven't seen a big movement. They'll have to do more business here on Friday, and I fear that it's going to be just as cheap as what we've already done this week, if not lower again. But Iowa sold 4,900 before 2 o'clock on Thursday, 18,400 for the week. That's about half what they need to do. Live sales in Iowa on Thursday early from 189 to 193. Now we've seen that 193 be most of the trade, but in Iowa on Thursday there was more trade at the lower end of the price spread there. So we're working on whittling down on that weighted average. Your dress sales in Iowa on Thursday from 302 to 306. Nebraska sold 2,100, only 15,800 in Nebraska on Thursday. Just one live price of 193 and one dress price of 306, and that's the market in the Northern Plains. And if you look at your price spread or your trend, Northern Plains is going to be $3 to $5, mostly $3 to as much as $5 lower live, and mostly $4 lower on a dress basis, which is that's a hump, but it's not near what the board fell, guys. Kansas sold 1,500 on Thursday. They've sold 7,400 for the week. Live sales in Kansas on Thursday, 185 to 187, and it ran the spread there. So that's the market. It's fallen some because we had a little bit better than that earlier in the week. Some 294 dressed, but Southern Plains trading $1 to $2 lower than last week. Texas sold 4,200 on Thursday. They'd only sold 100 more than that before. And your live prices in Texas were 185 to largely 186. No 187, and sure no 188 in Texas late in the week. Box beef cutout values down quite a bit. 312.12 on your choice, down 173. 298.03 on select, that was down 80 cents. Your slaughter, 484,000. That's 10,000 better than last week, 9,000 less than the same week a year ago. Your actual slaughter information for the week ending July the 27th came in with your average dressed steer carcass weight at 921 pounds on the average, 6 pounds better than the previous report there. Talk about what else is going on. Livestock Risk Services, that's Dakota Moss there in Oklahoma City. And we've got an updated list of the agents that work with him there. And check this over and see if you can find one there that you know will be even better, or one that's in an area that you're comfortable with, or they can help you wherever you're at, guys. I've talked to Dakota Moss, and he's licensed, and they are just about every single state, for sure every big cattle state there. But they are your LRP specialists, guys. And if this week, especially Monday, didn't tell you how important those LRPs are, you've got to have some protection, guys. We've reached these highs that we've never seen before, which just means there's that much more risk below us, and you've got to be careful, guys. Talk about your real-time index, your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DVAuction late in the day on Thursday, sitting at 247.33, down $3 smooth compared to late Wednesday. It's just catching up. It's a 7-day moving average, so we've lost a lot of those big prices that were holding us up there. 2 weeks ago, we were nearly 260 on a real-time index. That's how fast this market can evaporate. Your latest CME cash feeder cattle index is 250, 284. It's got a lot of falling left to do, guys, because it's always running behind. Talk about the big sale coming up here early this coming week. Western Video Market is having their big Cheyenne sale. It's on Monday and Tuesday, guys. They've got 60,000 head on offer. You can go to WVMcattle.com and find out more information on there. Or if it gets to be on Monday and you want to get in, tie into the DV auction console to view and bid that sale, you can also do that at WVMcattle.com. Monday, they're going to be selling the yearlings. And they're going to have some yearlings from Nebraska and Colorado, way out here in the plains. That's what they're going to start with at 8 a.m. Mountain Time, is on those yearlings way out here in the central part of the country, and then they'll start working their way west. But really, really top quality yearlings there, as good as you can find anywhere. Selling yearlings all day. Then late in the day, they're going to have a fundraiser for the victims of the wildfires in Oregon. That hasn't been well advertised, but there's been really, really bad wildfires in Oregon affecting a lot of ranchers out there. They're going to try to raise some money for them. They've got some donated items. They've got some donated bulls, high-powered bulls from 44 farms from River Bend that's going to be sold on there. They've got a quarter-horse colt they're going to sell on there, and all that money will be donated to help those victims of those fires out there in Oregon. On Tuesday, they're going to be selling calves. Actually, they're going to start out with a few lots of lambs. Then they're going to start selling calves. They're going to have some calves. They've got calves way out here in the central part of the country. Then they're going to move west with those calves. And then when they get done with those, they've got a couple thousand head of replacements that they're going to sell. But a big sale coming up this Monday and Tuesday. Western Video Market, the big Cheyenne sale. Don't miss it. Let's talk about your big sales, auction sales on Thursday. Farmers and Ranchers Livestock in Salina, Kansas sold 4,650 head. Feeders are $6 to $10 lower. Mostly grass cattle coming off the blue stem right there just south of them. But they did have an impressive quote. They've had several impressive quotes, but this is all it takes to make a big impressive quote now. 120 steers weighed 955. So deep into the nines, guys, at 240 and a quarter. And that's a big time quote, guys. I thought I'd give you the National Beef Wire stick out sale of the day is Salina there. Kind of give you an idea of what we're looking at here for price range on yearlings right now. There were 1,501 head of 8-weight yearling steers there in Salina, Kansas on Thursday. They had an average weight of 857 pounds and a weighted average price of $243.39. That might be a little eye-opening to you guys. 8-weight steers right off the grass, still the best feeding cattle of the year, guys, with a weighted average price of $243.39. That's the market, guys. And actually that weighted average there was $18 lower than the previous week's, than last week's weighted average. Ouch. 1,387 had a 9-weight steers in Salina, had an average weight of 935, weighted average price $236.90. That was about $8 lower on the 9 weights. Heifers in Salina didn't have near as many, but some of these were spayed heifers, or they sell better. 206 head of 7-weight spayed heifers included in there at an average weight of 753, weighted average price $240.70. 353 head of 8-weight heifers averaged $851 at $236.81. Some other sales around and just south of there in lower Kansas, Winter Livestock and Pratt sold 2,300. Now the market there was not as bad, but they didn't have a very good test from last week. The market reporters called the feeder steers $3 to $5 lower and the feeder heifers steadied at 2 higher, but they had less than 900 cattle last week, so it wasn't a very good test. Did have an impressive quote though. 82 steers weighed 809 pounds at 253. That's awfully good. I'll give you some other individual quotes from around. How about El Dorado, Kansas? El Dorado Livestock Auction, 195 head of steers weighed 773 at 264.50. Way out east in Bluegrass Stockyard, South Stanford, Kentucky. Man, they sell the strings of yearlings through there as good as they sell them out here in the plains, right behind a feedlot, guys. 174 steers weigh 807 at 254.75, and that is very, very impressive, guys. But the most impressive quote that I saw on Thursday, your Macrocin, no BS, top quote for the day, come out of Sisseton Livestock Auction in South Dakota. They sold 50 steers, weighed 639, and bring $3.25 a pound. And we don't see that very often anymore. That's your feeder flash for Friday.